make those black-eyed, meat-free burgers. I guess you could also call them vegetable burgers or vegetable patties. And again, I'm going to say this again, whenever we make, or whenever you're making any of my meals, I want you to feel free to substitute whatever ingredients you want to substitute. Make it your own, get creative, do whatever you want to do. I'm going to make these burgers today using black-eyed peas, but I've made them in the past using chickpeas and black beans, and they're equally delicious. So, here's what I've done. I take some minced garlic, probably about a quarter teaspoon or so, and then I take about a quarter cup of onion, to which I add about a quarter cup or so of chopped red, yellow, and orange bell peppers, which I absolutely love. Let me make some room here. I'm going to also add a little tiny bit of cilantro, because I love cilantro. But again, if you don't like cilantro, don't worry about it. Use whatever fresh herb you like. Don't like to use fresh herbs, prefer to use dried ones, go ahead. Make it your... Now I'm going to add half a cup, approximately, of black-eyed peas. And what I did is I kind of just mushed them up. You can mush them up with a fork, or in my case, I have used my food processor to prep everything to make things really, really quick. So I stuck a can of black-eyed peas in the food processor, pulsed it a couple of times, and made it, just, broke it up kind of rough. I don't know if you can see that over there, but again, it's not whole. The beans aren't whole, but it's not a paste either. Okay. All the ingredients that I don't use right now in this recipe, I save and I use in either tomorrow's recipes or the day after. Again, it's all about the speed, and they call it cross-utilization. So whatever I don't use right now, don't worry, we'll come back to it. You'll see it again in the next couple of days. So here we've got the cup or so of the peas, the chopped bell peppers, the onion, and the garlic. And we're going to add approximately a half a cup. We're going to add a half a cup or so of quinoa. What's quinoa? It's a grain. You can substitute brown rice, or you can substitute bulgur, or maybe even barley, or you can make a mix and use different kinds of grains. I like quinoa because it's a very high protein grain. I'm now going to mix together the grain, the peas, the veggies, and the herbs. What's going to hold it all together? Well, again, because the recipes are all plant-based, I'm not going to use egg. And as an egg substitute, what I've done is I've taken approximately 1 tablespoon of ground flax meal, and I've added 3 tablespoons of water. I let it sit for a while, and it kind of became like a gel, and that's going to be what I'm going to use as my binder. So now I'm going to mix this up. Meantime, let me turn on the griddle. So we've mixed together the grain, the peas, the veggies, and the herbs. Let's add a couple of sprinkles of salt. I like to use sea salt the best. And let's also add a fair amount of fresh cracked pepper. I like that better than stuff that's already been cracked, a little tinned. I think this tastes way better. But in the interest of time, if you don't want to go that route, use whatever you've got, use whatever you want. Alright, so now we've got everything well mixed together. And I think I'm going to be able to make about 3 patties out of this. In the meantime, the griddle should be nice and hot and ready to go. So, yep, I think I see about 3 patties coming out of this. Alright, so I've washed my hands, but I'll do it again just for jollies. And now I grab, or I form, actually, the patties just the same way that one would form meat patties, but again, these are going to be way, way healthier. This is really easy to make. They're really colorful too. You can see the red, the orange, and the yellow bell peppers in here. And they're obviously very healthy. Alright, well I'm going to go over to the griddle and put these on the fire, and then I'll grab the camera and bring it over. Sorry, no cameraman, it's just me, myself, and I doing it. So give me a second and we'll get these on the fire. Here's the patties on my cast iron griddle. I prefer cast iron to the non-stick stuff. I think it's healthier to cook this way, but again, you use whatever you've got at home and whatever you prefer. This is just a pet peeve of mine. When you put the burgers down, or the patties down, you might want to take your spatula and just, give them a better shape. And what I like to do is just, make them a little bit rounder. Alrighty then. While those cook, let's get started on our slaw salad. And I started them over a medium fire. I'm going to lower the fire down now to a low, and I'm going to cook them for about 5 to 7 minutes on either side. Patties are cooking. Let's make what I call a Thai-inspired broccoli slaw. This slaw is sold in the produce section, and it's already cut for you. You buy the little baggies of broccoli that's been cut up to look like coleslaw, and it contains, of course, broccoli and some carrots and some cabbage. And what I like to do is I like to make my own little dressing, and it's really, really easy. We are going to take some peanut butter, and we're going to use it very sparingly because we try to keep our meals as fat-free as possible. And if we do use fat, we try to use, or we make sure to use, fats that are plant-based and not processed too much. So this is organic peanut butter that I've used. It is a more expensive type of ingredient, but I'm using 2 teaspoons, and so because of that, really there's A, we're not going to use a lot of it, we're not going to have a lot of fat in here, and B, the cost is going to be rather minimal. Okay, so that's the peanut butter. We're going to use also 2 teaspoons of soy sauce. To that, we're going to add about 2 teaspoons of water. And I like to sweeten it a tiny bit, but I don't want to use the maple syrup or the honeys or anything like that. So I use a tiny, tiny, tiny dash of stevia so that it's going to have a kind of a sweet and nutty taste to it. But it's going to also be salty because of the low sodium, therefore you don't need to add any salt. I also like to make my foods a little bit on the spicy side of things, so I'm going to add really 2 or 3 drops of a Tabasco type sauce. It's just a red pepper sauce. Okay, so I whip these up real fast together, and then I just incorporate them over the slaw and mix that up as well as I can. And this is going to take a few minutes to absorb the dressing, and that's what's going to make it yummy. In fact, if you leave it there to sit and wait for a few minutes, that's going to make it really delicious. This is pretty much a portion for about 2 people or more. Alright, let's take a look at those patties. I think it's time to turn them around. Ah, yes. They're perfect. Okay, well the patties are ready to be taken off the griddle. I'm going to turn off the heat now. And we'll add our slaw. Yum. And there you go.